Welcome to Éxito in Minutes. I'm here with
Alex Espinoza,
my co-host, and I'm Troy Blanchard. Thanks for joining us today. We're super excited. Éxito in Minutes is all focused about how in minutes we can learn the best practices, valuable tips to help you achieve your full potential. We're inviting experts to come in, and they're going to share inspirational stories. Our main purpose is when you're concluding listening to these podcasts that you will be a better person and take some of those best practices, learn not just from us, but from our guests. Thanks for joining us. Welcome back to the show. We are so glad you're here with us. Today, we are going to talk about there's always a way, Alex. Why is that so important, Alex?
This is crucial, not just in our personal, but in our professional lives as well. Because, there's always a time when you get to a point when you find that something is impossible to get through. And you think like, what should I do? Should I quit? Should I start giving excuses? What should I do? So there's always a way. I think this is a principle that applies to all of us, in no matter what step or process or whenever we can go through it. So that's the topic for today.
I love it. And there's so many stories we could tell about There's Always a Way. Let's start with a personal There's Always a Way. And I'm going to give an example here. My wife and we had Robbie and a couple other people with us, Abe Cubano, a couple people. And we decided to go out to Pelora. And Pelora is located, if you live in Ecuador, you'll know, but if you don't live in Ecuador, we're located here in Quito, Ecuador. It's like 9,500 feet. You kind of descend down into the Oriente, they say, right? You go past Puyon, there's a little town called Pelora. And we were in our vehicle, and we were driving in this finca, and I'd been there several times, but from the time that I'd been there last, they decided to look for river rock. And so they dug a massive hole, and the hole was like 12 to 14 feet down. So here I am in my car, I'm going up this hill, and my car just goes right into the hole sideways, and it's tipping like this, is teetering.
Wow.
And of course I started laughing, right? Because it's like the adventure. But the point is it's kind of a dangerous situation.
Yeah.
And what surprised me is this attitude, right? And I don't know if it's Pelora specific, Ecuador specific, Latin America specific, but instantly there were people working in different areas of the finca, and they all went to work. And the next thing you know, everybody started pushing boulders because the car is stuck in this hole like this in the air. The back tire was in the air. And so they threw in rocks. They actually cut down a tree and started cutting it into 3-foot sections and started throwing the logs and rocks in. And they raised the level of the ground, right? They raised the level of the ground all the way up until the car could be towed back out of it.
What? That's crazy.
So it's like one of those things that, like, I think sometimes we would have said, it's in a hole, we got to wait for a tow truck. We called a tow truck, and they're like, we'll be there tomorrow, right? And that wasn't going to work. It was 11 in the morning. So the thought process is there's always a way you can get through. That's a personal example. I think professionally, I have had the experience in my life to be a part of many companies. I remember I was part of a company, and the person over the books walked in and said, there's no way this company's going to make it. We are out of money. There's no way we're going to survive. And that company has now grown like 10 times, maybe more, in the last several years. And so when somebody came and presented facts that something is impossible, we found a way. And so I love the phrase, there's always a way. There's a book too. What is the name of the book?
The Obstacle's the Way.
The Obstacle's the Way. That one is by Ryan Holiday. And this book is really a fun read because it's basically saying the obstacle is the way to success. One of the quotes that I like in there, he says, we don't get to choose what happens to us, but we always get to choose how we feel about it. So 2 scenarios. One group of leaders of one company see that there's no more finances, there's no more money, and there's not enough sales to support it. They close the company. The other one grabs a whole bunch of leaders and grabs a bunch of people and says, the company looks like it's going to have to close. There's got to be a way. What do we do? They start brainstorming. They come up with ideas. They work together as a team, and they solution it, just like the car, right? That's a business application of what he's. What I love about this quote, Alex, is it says that we choose how we feel about it. I've met people that literally say, I can't get a hold of them. They won't answer my phone. And it's so surprising, especially here, people that use WhatsApp. I'm like, have you called them? No, I sent them a text. I'm like, call them, right? There's always a way to get to a solution. Would you read the second quote?
Yes, sure. Focus on the moment, not what the monsters that may or may not be up ahead.
Because isn't that true? Like you get into this moment and I'm like, we got to pull the car out of here. But what if we have a flat tire? And what if we can't get out? What if it's dented? What if the engine stops working? What do we do? Like you don't even worry about if the engine works. Who cares? The first step is to get the car out of the hole.
Yeah.
And then if it doesn't start, then it's to go get something else, right? Like go get gas or fix the car or whatever it might be. And there we got business. And let's go back to personal.
Okay.
I love the idea of when you think of a mom that is, I have this example where there's this mom right now that has 3 kids at home, right? She also is working. She's also supporting volunteering at her church. And I talked to somebody else, it's probably a guy to be honest with you, but I'm gonna talk to somebody else. If I were to ask somebody else, hey, could you volunteer here and also could you work? And they'd be like, no, I'm a stay-home dad. Like I got 3 kids, I can't do all that, right? So it's interesting that when I hear these, and I'm not giving specificity, like I'm actually talking more in generalities, there's many times I'll run into people and I'm always interested in how they feel about whatever the obstacle is. I can't go back to school because I don't have enough money. I would do Pathway, but I have a job. And I try not to say this, but I'm gonna say it on the podcast. I had 4 kids at home and I have an incredible wife, Daphne, that was taking care of the 4 kids and I'm working full time and I decided to go back and get my master's, which a master's is about 20 hours a week of work to 30 hours and I had to go in person. And so when you think about like, I've talked to other people like, I can't go get my master's, I have a child. I'm like, I had 4. My child's 5 years old. I had 4 under the age of 7. Now, I'm just saying, it's just the mindset. In my mind, I was like, I can do it. And then of course, Daphne had the same mindset because I can't abandon her. So I still had responsibilities as a father too. So think of like in your lives, how you can apply some of these quotes. Think about how you perceive in your lens that something's impossible. Also, I want to say with life's goals. A lot of time you'll talk to somebody that doesn't have a car, doesn't have a house, and they're renting, and they're saying, I want to achieve this goal. This morning I had a great experience, and I'll wrap it up with this, Alex, because I'm talking a lot. But I had this great experience where...
No, you keep talking. It's just amazing. We're learning a lot. It's like... Yeah.
I'm not going to say the person's name, but the person that I talked to today came into the gym and he talked about this great event where they had 800 people attend this event. And I didn't ask permission, that's why I'm not using his name. But 2 years ago, I watched when he started doing events and it was like maybe 10 or 15 people would show up, but he didn't know how to run all the events. So he went and attended and volunteered at events every single weekend. And there's times that I would be here like 4 to 6 weeks in a row and every single weekend he was volunteering for free at all these events. And then he decided to put on his own event. It took 1.5 years to 2 years. If they would have asked me to do it, I wouldn't have said it's impossible, but I would say, ooh, that's gonna be a lot of work. I think people in their mindsets think something is impossible. And yet here, 1.5 years, 2 years later, 800 people showed up to a one-day event. Incredible. I love that example he's giving us. So whether it's in your personal life, your professional life, right? Either way, think of your lens of how you look at things. And if you ever hear the word, it's not possible, remove that phrase. Because I promise you, throwing satellites into the sky to get internet through Starlink, somebody would have said was impossible 2 years ago. Having a car automatically drive you with your hands off, where you could drive all over the United States and not even touch the wheel because it's driving for you, somebody would have said that's impossible. Everything is possible. And so that's what I love about this. So think about in your own career, in your own studies, think of changing your lens to think there's always a way.
Yes.
Thanks for joining us, you guys. We appreciate you being here. We are super excited. We've got another topic that's coming up right after this, but we'll just stop with there's always a way.
Oh, that's awesome.
All right, thanks. Have a great day.
Bye.